started achieving 2025 goals 3 months before 2025, and here's the biggest 5 lessons that I learned from it. I promise that after this video, you will be able to achieve any goals that you're making for 2025. In fact, you will achieve them so fast that you will have the time to achieve the next year's goals as well. And the way that I'm going to do it, I'm going to tell you the stories, give you the lessons, and I'm going to give you a secret of mine. So, the story began when I was pretty young. I was doing all of these goals, making them all the time, never achieving anything. And I was like, dude, how does this even happen? And you see all of these videos online of people achieving the yearly resolutions. And at the end of the year, they make those videos when they share their accomplishments in the previous year. And I'm like, dude, why my life doesn't have that thing? Why my life doesn't have that element? Why my goals that I put don't have that achievement, don't have the success, don't have that feeling, etc. But what I didn't know is this. If there's only one thing that you have to take care while making the goal for the year, is your data. So for me, at the point I didn't have data, and trust me, it all will make sense in a second. When you look at your data, you don't have to have a huge database. Obviously, the bigger your database, the better. Okay? But if you don't have it, you just look at whatever you have. Let's say you work in sales. So in the past year, let's say you have done 500 sales calls. Just as an example, let's say you have done 500 sales calls. The next year, you want to do 1,000, 600, 700, whatever feels challenging to you. That makes all the sense. People just forget everything they've done and they say, I'm going to make $5 million in profit next year. It doesn't work like that. You have to see what you've done last year and do more, or do better, or do something new. And I'm going to explain all of them. So the first, I explained it. It's great. But it's also important to understand how to do better, because the way you do it is not only look at how many videos or how many sales calls you've done and do more, but you will see of those 500 sales calls that I did last year, what are the best 50 of them? What did I do different in those 50 that I didn't do in those 450 others? Okay, good. Write them down. That's what you want to do in the next year. So let's say you will do the same 500 in the next year, but you will only do the same characteristics or what you did in those best 50 that you closed, let's say. And just do that for 500 times. So the volume is the same, but you are doing better than last year because you looked at the data, you analyzed, you've seen what worked, you've seen what didn't work, and you're doing more of what works. That's how you do better. If you want to do both, you will do 600 calls of that thing. But however, you have to comprehend that you might not achieve it. If you're going just too hyped up, maybe you will not achieve it. Maybe you will. So it's up to you. Do you want to up the volume and the quality, or stay at the same volume and add the quality? Because if you're adding the quality, if you're adding, doing that better, it usually comes with its pros and cons. The pros obviously will get better results. The cons is usually it's a little bit harder. So take that into consideration. So the thing with new, if you've done the volumes for a few years, you've done the better thing for a few years, and now you looked at the data and you say, I cannot do more volume and I cannot do anything better. So I've done better, but that's rare case. However, it might be you, so then you want to do something new. You say, okay, you see what I'm doing volume? I'm going to do that, so stay that, do that, and add something else. Let's say you're doing sales calls and sales calls called outreach. Now you're going to add warm outreach, talking to people that you know, or you start making ads, or you do whatever it is. So you're adding this thing that will make you better. These how you make the goals. So I see a lot of people saying those goals, and it's usually something that inspires you as part of the cult. So there's a company, and this is known for everybody, like every entrepreneur, every CEO, every business founder knows this. It's like if you want your company all to work on one goal, make it known. Let everyone knows that that is the goal. And in fact, the better is you have only one goal in a company instead of having 500 goals. And that's why you said Tesla, making those lines, one-liners in the walls. The same goes with all the companies. They just do the same thing because it reminds people of the goal. And this, in a digital representations, is with whoever you're following, whether that be in a content creator. He's saying, well, this year I want to get to 400 million subscribers. Something like that. And you're like, oh, dude, he's sharing his this. But the thing is, he's literally making people know, so people believe in it and they know that that's what they should do. So if they want to help him, they will do that thing. So that's how you know what's the difference between them and you. So for them, even that they know they have to do that, but if they're usually like they've been this, at least that's what I've seen according to the data, is they will have something else based on what I told you. Okay, so now let's say I'm gonna add more to this. So in the 4-hour work week, there's this segment that talks about how you can get more by doing less. And it's really like you work less hours, but you get paid more, or you get paid the same amount, etc. And it talks about how in most fields, there's a literally 95 to 5% ratio, 90 to 10%. It's known as the 20-80% rule, but in most cases, it is actually that. It is actually 95 to 5%. It is actually 90 to 10%. So let's say 20-80%. Okay, that's like the minimum, or let's say the average. Which means that 20% of what you did last year gave you 80% of the results that you got last year. So you might just focus on those 20% and make them your entire goal for the next year. Just do that 20%. That will increase you as a person, because that's what's the goal of making goals, is to become better as a person or as a company, is to make more, be better, get more, do more, whatever it is. So there's always that upward spiral. And to get there is like you have to look at the data, analyze it, make decisions. The other way to do it is the 20-80% rule. The reason why I don't say this, right, and I talk to people about this, like the reason why I don't say this is because I don't like vague definitions. So when you tell me 20-80% rule, tell me what you mean. If I'm going to tell you, just apply 20-80% rule for whatever you did last year and do the best 20%, and that is it for the next year. You will ask me, how do I know? On what metric will I judge the best 20%? Right? Like all of these. And usually it is up to you. It's like what matters more to you. But really you can't even do that if you don't have the data. So there's this event that happened to me, which was paperwork that I had to do. And it was more of a collaboration of more people. And one of them was a respected person by me. I really respect him because he is at a place that I always looked up to. And I've seen his papers and I'm like, okay, it has all the data. And that just made all the sense. I said, if he does have all that, who am I that I'm not in that position to not do that? You see, when they say businesses, Alex Hormozi mentioned this in his book. He said, businesses are not businesses without an accountant. You need an accountant to have a business. If you don't have an accountant, whether you hire one or you be one, first, you're going to be your accountant. Without accounting, you're not doing anything. You're literally just pouring water on sand. You have to be your own accountant. If it's a business, when we're talking about goals, then you have to be your own accountant in your life. You see what are goals that you put, which ones you've achieved, which ones are better, etc. And the same goes with what you're tracking. So it depends on what, let's say, ask yourself this question. What are your yearly resolutions based around? Is it college? Is it work? Is it studies? Is it finance? Is it business? Is it relationships? Is it networking? Is it all of them? Is it knowledge? Is it learning? Is it traveling? Is it being more, doing more sports, getting fit, being stronger, losing weight, whatever it is? Get that. Now that's what I want. It's fine if it's multiples, like 3, 4, fine. Up to 5. More than 5, then you're going, you have to reassess your priorities. So you get those 5 and you say, okay, now I want to be fit and I want to be muscular. Let's say in the past year, better if you have 5 years, 10 years, it will be better. If you can't, do as long as you can. So it's 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, few months, how much data you can put in, it will be better. So for me, I did about 30 months to be more specific with you. And the stuff that I didn't do, it's like I started 3 years ago, I will track them from that. The stuff that I started 9 months ago, of course I'm gonna collect the data from the day I started them, and not by 3 years, because it will be nothing for 2 and 3 months, years. So the way you're gonna do it, you're gonna look at the data, and then you make your decision for the next year. You don't want to be the best, you just want to be better, and that is the point of all goals. Because if you're going to look at the best, you have no clue about what others are going through, what data they have. So you just focus on yourself, focus on the data, because focusing on yourself is a vague. I've heard this 1,000 times. People say, just focus on yourself, focus on yourself, make yourself priority. What does that mean? Transcribe it to me, explain it to me in actionable steps. What does me focusing on myself look like? I found that the definition is to look at the data, analyze, make decisions. That's it. What data you look at? Well, you have to see what you want. Let's say I have a goal about losing 5 kilograms. I will look at the data. Okay, and that is also another important thing, is that at least if you have no clue about what goal to put, no clue, make your goal to gather as many data as much as possible about you. Not what you think, not whatever, you can track that, but sure, but not like the main thing, what you do. So let's stay in the weight loss example. You're gonna track whenever you go to the gym, what you train. If that sounds crazy to do it on a daily basis, do it on weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, every quarter, every trimester, whatever works. And you say, well, this time I did this time I did this. Just do that. Just fill in the gaps and type the periods, type whatever it is. At the end of that period, preferably the longer it is, the better. But if you want to adjust along the lines and you want to get better so fast, then you can do it, shorter, but the results will not be more accurate, but they will be better than just doing it without analyzing. So once you look at the data and you're like, okay, which ones are the best 10%? Which ones are the worst 10%? Okay, now I have a good idea. Now what I want to do is like, what makes a difference? It's like what I did in the best 10% that I didn't do in the worst. That I didn't do in the worst 10%. Or the opposites, like what I didn't do in the best 10% and I did in all the others, or the other way around. Basically, it's like, what did I do different here? What made all this different? And that's all what I did. And make it, obviously, you don't say like, it didn't rain that day. No, you say what you did. Sure, if rain affects you, you say, I didn't bring an umbrella. I went outside and worked out. I did this one thing. So it's about you, so you can track what you did and what are the results of what you put in, so you can make better goals based on what you did, so you know what to do to get better results. And just that's the only way. So if there is one thing that you have to learn about making goals and making them actually happen, is this one thing. Gathering as much data as possible about yourself and about what you do, not what you think, what you do. Track it, analyze it, and make decisions, and repeat. And that's also known as feedback loops. You see, when people do something and they show it to people. Even Mr. Beast, known for that for a very long time, he was like, I always show the videos to 100 people and see all of their reactions. What are the times when they look away? What are the times when they're more interested, etc. And he says, based on that, that's how I know, and I go re-edit the videos to make it better, so I have a great understanding of how people will see it. That's called the feedback loop. You do something, and then you see a feedback. You get feedback. It's like what works best, what didn't work, etc. People do this all the time with businesses and services, etc. So if I make you, let's say, bread, if I'm gonna cook you a bread, and I know I'm gonna cook it for 1 month, I might just get the feedback from you. So I'm gonna cook you a bread. I'm gonna see what you think. Oh, it's too salty. Oh, it's way too cooked. I don't like it this way. It's way too big. It's small. It's sweet. Whatever. Get that feedback loop so the other day you're making it better. Just few reps in, you don't have to do that on a daily basis. You can do it on a weekly basis. And the list goes on. And the main thing is feedback. With your life, with your goals, most people don't have these things of seeing the feedback. I didn't have these things, how to look at the feedback, because I didn't know how to. Okay, I have this goal to achieve 1, 2, it's like 1, 2, 3. How do I know, how do I get the feedback of something I want? The only valuable answer is looking at the data and you have expected. It's literally the only thing that you can do, and that will actually give you all the results that you want. And look, just don't take it from me, don't take it from anyone. I'm gonna give you something else, okay? So with this thing, it's like, dude, it's crazy. So I started achieving the New Year's goals 3 months before the New Year's has begun because of this one thing. I knew how to make goals. And because I just studied goals that I did in my entire life. And when I found an information gap, I tried to fill it. Whether that being with expectations, theories, or sometimes you get knowledge from people you like or you respect. And you know they will not gatekeep, but they will actually give you the real information. That's how I did it. And I didn't believe that I will get it. I said, look, here's this thing, but it's fine if you get it here. And now I literally got in the next year's goals 3 months before that. And I truly believe that this is something replicable that anyone can do without underestimating yourself and holding yourself back with your yearly resolutions or goals. So I'm not telling you to cut down in half what you want. I'm just telling you to learn how to make it better. The principles are, you have to look at the data. That's 1. 2, you have to make theories to fill the information gaps. 3, this is the big one. What do you think it is? Now you've done the data. Okay, you filled the information gaps. Is to actually track your goals. Everything that I put this year as a goal, or the year like prior year, it was me actually tracking everything. I track what I want. Whatever you track grows. And this is something is valuable for everything. That's why people say that you should not track your problems because they will grow. It's even mentioned so bigly. It's the main idea in Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. The entire book is about this one concept. So might as well take it into consideration. So what you want is to track the right metrics that you want them to grow. Even if there are results, you should do that too. And also you should do your consistency or your action based. Going back to the sales process, you're going to see how many closed sales you get. You want to see that, and you want to also see how many calls you're doing. with the stuff that we said you should make it better if you're going through the feedback loop since it's not your first time, you see how many calls that you've done with the adjusted, based on you getting the data, analyzing, making the decisions, and you said, well, the best 10% in my sales calls, I do this X thing. So you say, oh, how many sales calls that I do that have that one thing? It's that said. It's just tracking volume and also tracking the results. I'm gonna give you a story here. This is very interesting. So in the past 1 week, in the past 2 weeks, I got 9.8 thousand subscribers on my YouTube account. And to take into considerations, for the past 3 years, I was growing on a rate about 20,000 subscribers a year. On average, something like this, nothing more. I looked at the data, I analyzed, I made the decisions. I knew what worked best in the stuff that I can make volume in. That's one thing. 2, I tracked it. So it's not only that I put it on a whiteboard, I was tracking it multiple times daily. 3, I was tracking my output, my input. How many videos I'm uploading? What are the videos I'm uploading? And at the same time, it was very short period. We're talking about 2 weeks period here. I was literally analyzing every day. So every day I go in and I see, okay, this video is doing better. This video is getting me closer to my goal. This video is not doing good at all. And it was doing that on repeat. And I really believe that anyone can do this if they have the data that I have. And if I have the data that Elon Musk's have, I should be able, hypothetically, to have what he has. And it's crazy and insane how I'm sharing my data to you to just go do it. Although I know it's the most precious, valuable asset that we have. Everyone says time. I say data is more valuable than time. Because data will buy you your time back. I started this video with telling you, I literally got in because I was buying my time back. So if I put 1 day, I make sure that 1 day is buying me another 5 days in the future. So in those 5 days, I make sure that I focus and do something that are better and more important. And just the way that I do it is through the data analysis, the decisions that I tell you, and I don't gatekeep. And the thing is, as I promised, from now, you can do the same thing and finish what you usually will take you 1 year. Actually, you will get through the new year, you will start your new resolutions 3 months prior, everyone. And what you've seen here, you can never unsee it, and you can start immediately. So you might as well subscribe.